I can do something similar even with a tight lie. A sand wedge is a very unique club. It was invented by a fellow by the name of Gene Sarazen. He used to take flying lessons. And most of the older players at that time used a niblick, which was similar to a 9-iron, to pick the ball out of a bunker. Because it was a very narrow bottom on it, not like this one. This is called the flange. And this flange is different than all your other clubs because it has an angle on it. That angle allows this club to bounce. So guess what they call that? The bounce of a sand wedge. So if you look at a club, they go from anywhere from 10 degrees to 18 degrees of bounce on the club. The degree of bounce allows you to do certain things. Some wedges are better for very tight lies, some wedges are better for sand. The more bounce you have, the easier it is to get out of the sand. It might be a little difficult though on a very tight lie because it's going to want to bounce so much. But by opening this club up, by rotating your arm, your forearm and hand this way, you bring the bounce into play. Very critical. Because if I come down and the club is square, it digs. That leading edge is very sharp and it wants to dig. But if I open it up, now if you look at it on my hand, you can see there's a gap between this leading edge and my hand. If I bring it flush, it's straight on, you can see that. But if I turn it this way, I'm actually hitting off of this part, the bounce. So now, when I hit this shot, I can actually hit almost a ½ inch behind this ball. And I'm not going to dig. I'm going to hit a ½ inch and I'm just going to slide right underneath this ball. If I do it properly. So by doing that, I can get the ball to go up in the air. Now, where it really gets tricky is if you hold this club light, I can nip this ball just right if I do it correctly and get that ball to pop that high up in the air and make it sit. That takes a lot of practice. I really got good on the last 5 million balls I've hit. It's not easy because it requires so much sensitivity and light touch. It's doable if you're willing to put in the time and practice that shot. But the overriding factor here is I have to keep this club moving. If I stop the club, my hand and wrist is going to unhinge and I'm in trouble. Here it is again. I'm going to swing my arm down, stop the club, and you can hear the tinniness to it. When you're hearing that, you're hitting it on the bottom edge of the club, and that's a problem. The most basic shot that you all should have in your repertoire is this one, where I start with the ball in the middle of my stance. My hands are slightly ahead inside my knee. The ball is back here under my sternum, my chest bone, right here. My hands, you can see, are ahead of the ball. Now, from here, I take the club back low, push it back with my left, and I just lead it through. Sometimes I've heard that referred to as a rake shot. You're just raking this club through because that doesn't tell you to hit the ball, that keeps that angle. So that rake, as I'm leading it through, will hit the ball. Notice how my hands finished way out in front of this club. I was here and then I'm here. There is no hit. So I just rake it. Now, you can play that shot with every club you've got. So if I've got this is a pitching wedge, if I want to go to the last flag, I'll rake it through. You see how the ball goes out low and then it runs. I don't try to hit the ball in the air. I let the club do that. The key is to keep your hands always in front of this club. It leads through. You've got to brush that grass as you're doing it, always leading. The minute you stop, your hands are going to flip. That's the disaster that happens. Anybody got any questions on any of that?
Are you holding the club with the same pressure with the right and the left?
I would say I'm holding it even less pressure with my right. I want my left to always feel like it's in control because it has to lead this club through. Full shots, all shots. That's why everything I do is around my lead arm and hand. When I set up, this is a full wedge, as I'm setting up, you can see how my left is out in front of my right, my left side is high. My right knee is lower than my left knee, my hip is lower, so when I set up, my left arm and hand is in a position of dominance here to swing this club. I do that with virtually every shot I hit. Once in a while, and if you were here on Morgan and Friends Day, you had Ron Stockton out there talking about a particular shot that he was trying to teach Morgan. That shot is probably how most people play the shot, and that's why they struggle with it. It's very dangerous because what's happening here is the shot he was talking about has this club actually passing your lead arm. That makes it bottom out too soon for most people and come up and blade the ball. But when you have the kind of feel and sensitivity that a Morgan Presto or a tour player has, what they're trying to do is bottom it out right exactly at the ball. That makes this club come in with a lot of loft, and the ball just goes up and comes down and lands like a butterfly with sore feet. So, dangerous, but with practice, and many times for a tour player, they're in situations where they don't want that ball to go anywhere, but the grass that they're in is so high, they need a lot of speed. How do they get the speed and not go anywhere? They come in with that club almost zero loft. They're coming in like this. It's virtually pancake. But if they turned it over or if they came in too steep and trapped the ball, would go too far out. So when you see them in the British Open or you see them at, this year they'll be at Pebble Beach, that shot to Tom Watson, that famous shot he hit that went in the hole, exactly what I'm talking about. What he does is he comes down. It's a great sense of timing to feel your left arm stopping, your right hand shoveling under it. Look what that does to the club. It gets it wide open coming in. So they can create speed and not any outward trajectory. Most people actually play those shots. I've stood over here and I've watched players take a 7-iron, and they can hit that 7-iron so high at times, especially if they have a good lie, because they're flipping it up in the air. See how I just did that? Like this. Their timing's got to be perfect, otherwise they're going to scull it or hit it fat. That little flip adds loft to that club. So the ball doesn't go out, it goes up. That is exactly how I would prefer to see you not play this shot. That's what gives people fits when we have lies like these out here. It's so tight and you got that club moving up, you're going to blade it almost every time unless your timing is perfect. And at one time that I challenged somebody on that, it was my dad. I was playing in the father-son championship a long time ago at New Haven Country Club, and he had a shot just like what we're talking about. He had no room, a big bunker, big lip, and he used a 9-iron. He hated sand wedges. And I thought there is no way he can get that 9-iron up in the air no matter how he flips his shot over the lip. And the pin was cut in close. He hit it up there like that. It's like the 1 in a million. Don't tell me I know how to play this shot. That was the rest of the day. So, but it's dangerous. Can anything happen on any shot? Of course it can. Is there a higher percentage way to play it? Absolutely. They absolutely lead the club through. With a shot like this, a 7-iron to go over there, I don't have to strike it very hard because you can see it's just going to take off like a jet.